being buried in requests for hosiery support. Everything, it seemed, was on Binghamton's shoulders. The sinks in the petty officers' club were backing up with a smell that could peel paint. Tokyo Rose was probably making fun of him on the radio. And then, the ultimate disaster struck in the form of a message from the Admiral's office. Admiral Rafferty. Binghamton choked out, clutching his stomach. Iron Pants Rafferty is arriving today on a sneak inspection. The captain's stomach acid, which he frequently claimed could start a diesel engine, began to churn. Rafferty was a man who considered a loose button on a uniform to be a court-martial offense. Taratupa, by contrast, was a sprawling mess of unauthorized poker games, home-distilled moonshine, and a PT boat crew that treated the Navy regulations as a book of polite suggestions. "Sir, take it easy on those pills," Lieutenant Carpenter urged, watching the captain down a handful of white tablets. "You know they give you indigestion." "I don't care," Binghamton wailed. "If I get sick enough, I can appoint an acting base commander. Let someone else face the Iron Pants. Let someone else explain why the sinks smell like a dead whale's locker." A slow, devious smile spread across the captain's face. A look that usually preceded a disaster for everyone else. "Wait a minute. If I was sick, I could appoint McHale." The idea was brilliant in its malice. With Commander Quentin McHale and his band of cutthroats in charge, they would surely run wild. They would offend the Admiral, break every rule in the book, and destroy themselves within the hour. Binghamton would be safely tucked in a hospital bed, watching the fireworks from a distance. "I do look sort of sick, don't I, Carpenter?" "Terribly sick, sir," Carpenter agreed, playing along. "I'll call the medic." "Carmen! Hurry! The captain is he's in pain." Chapter 2. The acting base commander. Commander McHale arrived at the captain's quarters to find Binghamton sprawled on a cot, looking like a man who had seen a ghost, or perhaps just his own reflection after a long night. "Oh, hi, Captain," McHale said, his voice brimming with a casualness that always made Binghamton's blood pressure spike. "What's wrong, sir?" "I'm in bad shape, McHale," Binghamton moaned, his voice a faint rasp. "The medics. They don't know what it is. I have to appoint an acting base commander, someone I can trust." McHale nodded solemnly. "I understand, sir. Rest assured, my boys and I will give Lieutenant Carpenter all the help he—" "No, no, no," Binghamton barked, briefly forgetting to be sick. "Carpenter is a boob. I'm appointing you, McHale. You're in charge." McHale blinked. "Me? Sir, I'm a saltwater skipper. I'd be no good behind a desk. I'd probably accidentally declare war on a neutral island just trying to find the stapler." "That's an order, McHale. Go to my office. Take command this minute." And so, the unthinkable happened. The inmates were given the keys to the asylum. Within 30 minutes of McHale taking the desk, the office of the base commander looked less like a military headquarters and more like a chaotic flea market. "Executive Officer Parker here," Ensign Parker shouted into the phone, his hat tilted at an angle that defied the laws of physics. "What? The sinks? Oh, tell the petty officers to use the ocean. We've found the garter belts." "Yes, ma'am, they're on the way." Meanwhile, the crew of the PT-73, Gruber, Virgil, and the rest saw the change in management as a divine mandate for profit. The skip said full speed ahead. Gruber announced to the men, "He wants action. We're opening shop. Get the girls. Get the booze. Get the lawnmower. We're throwing the wing ding of the century." Chapter 3. The Sultan and the Royal Ruse. Just as McHale was settling into the idea that base command might involve more paperwork and less fun than he'd anticipated, the stakes were raised. It wasn't just an admiral visiting. It was the Sultan of Marami and his 3 princesses. The Sultan's plane had developed engine trouble near the island of Samura. Binghamton, still recovering in the hospital, saw another opportunity to bury McHale. He sent the PT-73 to rescue them, hoping the crew's lack of decorum would cause an international incident. McHale, however, was a master of improvised diplomacy. "Greetings, Your Highness," McHale said, bowing as the Sultan stepped onto the deck of the PT-73. I am Commander McHale. We are here to serve you. The Sultan, a man of immense dignity and even more immense cargo, looked around skeptically. Are these men to be trusted with my most valuable possessions? Wow, 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 Ensign Parker whispered as the princesses stepped into view. Like a chicken, the Sultan's brow furrowed. What did he say? It's a ceremonial greeting, Your Highness. McHale lied smoothly, stepping on Parker's foot. In our country, it signifies the utmost respect. It means, may your kingdom be as resilient as the noble fowl. I see, the Sultan said, pacified. Very well, I wish to handle this craft. It seems most amusing. Disaster nearly struck when the Sultan took the wheel and headed straight for a coral reef. But McHale's quick thinking saved the day. The Sultan was so impressed that he insisted on a grand dinner back at the base. This posed a problem for Binghamton, who had intended to keep McHale far away from the Sultan. But the Sultan wouldn't have it. He wanted his friend McHale there. The night of the dinner was a comedy of errors. Binghamton, convinced that McHale was hiding hula girls in the air raid shelter to entertain the Sultan, an activity strictly forbidden by the Navy, went on a frantic search. In his desperation, he managed to get himself trapped in a series of disguises, eventually ending up in a closet wearing a seaman's uniform, while Ensign Parker, in a moment of sheer desperation to hide the crew's actual unauthorized party, disguised himself as a fourth princess. That's a very muscular princess, Binghamton noted, squinting through the closet door. She's the athletic one, sir, McHale explained, sweat pouring down his face. She does a lot of shot putting. Chapter 4, Laughing Gas and the Fitness Board. Binghamton had finally had enough. The Sultan incident had somehow made McHale look good, and the captain's blood pressure was reaching critical levels. He decided to strike at the weakest link, Ensign Parker. I'm requesting a fitness board, Binghamton announced, a predatory glint in his eye. Parker is a disgrace. He torpedoed a garbage scow. He shot down a target plane during a drill. I'm gonna have him broken down to seaman second class so fast his head will spin. The crew was devastated. Parker was a klutz, but he was their klutz. They needed a plan. What about the laughing gas? McHale suggested, recalling his recent trip to the dentist. Laughing gas, Skip? Gruber asked. You mean nitrous oxide? Exactly. If Binghamton is in a good mood, he might cancel the board. If he's in a really good mood, he might promote Parker to admiral. The plan was executed with military precision, or at least the PT-73 version of it. They piped the gas through the window of Binghamton's office while he was reviewing Parker's dismal record. July 16th. Binghamton began, his voice suddenly sounding light and airy. During gunnery drill, he shot down a target. Ha! Ha! Binghamton began to giggle. The giggle turned into a roar. A garbage scow. He thought it was a nip sub camouflaged with potato peels. That's Ganton. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Jockey Walkie. Come here, you little potato peel. The fitness board arrived to find the base commander dancing on his desk, calling everyone bingy wingy, and trying to pin a medal on a stray cat. The captain seems spirited, Admiral Shoemaker noted, raising an eyebrow. Just then, a real air raid siren blared. Parker, still high on the residual fumes and trying to be helpful, stumbled out to a machine gun mount. In a haze of nitrous-induced euphoria, he closed his eyes and pulled the trigger. A Japanese Zero, flying low and fast, flew right into his line of fire and disintegrated. Magnificent, Shoemaker shouted. The lad stood laughing in the face of death. He's a combat hero. Binghamton, coming down from his high, could only watch in horror as Parker was hailed as a legend. Why me? He whispered. Why is it always me? Chapter 5. Sydney, the alligator. Life on Taratupa settled back into its usual rhythm of petty crime and island lounging until the crew acquired a new member, Sydney. Sydney was an alligator. He was also, according to Parker, a gourmet. He loves my mother's peanut butter sandwiches, Skip, Parker explained as the 6